On today's episode, we're going to be talking about values over volume. I'm excited for this one. I feel like I've been kind of wanting to talk about this for a bit, and hopefully we can get through it today. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by Jane, a clinic management software and EMR. Now, we all know that choosing the right EMR can feel a bit overwhelming, especially when you're just starting out. You're trying to juggle both your practice needs and your budget, and that's not always the easiest combo. Well, that's why Jane came up with the best new balance plan. It includes the essential features you need to keep things running smoothly in your clinic without the extra fluff that you don't. One-on-one telehealth, unlimited support, email reminders, and more are included no matter which plan you choose. So if you're looking for an EMR that helps you focus on your patients, not your costs, Jane is here for you, just like a part-time assistant. Plans start as low as $39 a month in the US, $54 a month in Canada. Visit jane.app/pricing to learn more. And if you're ready to get started, use my code LEX1MO. Again, that's LEX1MO at sign up for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. And you will see that linked as well in the show notes. Welcome back to another episode. I am recording today. It's Sunday night at 5 at night. I don't recall. I'm trying to remember what we did. Oh, Friday was Valentine's Day. And on that day, I basically focused on hanging out with Shantae, doing some minor work. And I also had to do something. And I'm like, what did I have to do on Friday? I don't know. I had some commitment at, 10 a.m. And if you're anything like me, or maybe it was later in the afternoon, I don't know. And then we had dinner. And I was like, if you're anything like me, you basically just don't do anything I had a call with my best friend at 11. And in between 11 to 12, I obviously talked to her. But then after that, I was like, we have dinner at 6:30. So that means I can't do anything. So I also will say that it was the first it was the first day of my cycle too. So I was like, just not in the mood to do absolutely anything. And sometimes I get like that and I'm like, I cannot force myself to do this right now. So I lifted and we went out to dinner. So Friday was super relaxing. And I'm saying this to you because I'm recording on Sunday night instead of during the week last week, because I just, didn't feel like it. And also I felt like the topic just wasn't coming to my mind. And I will tell you, I'm looking at my screen right now. I just have GarageBand up. So I don't develop these episodes prior and read off of a script. I just kind of shoot from the hip. 1, because it's way easier for me. And 2, because I will get caught up in the text, if you will, if I were to outline this episode and tell you what I'm going to say. And also I've listened to podcasts before where you can tell they're just reading from a script, and that's just not the way that I roll. No judgment against anybody else. I respect that, do your thing. But for me, I don't like it, and I don't like listening to them when they're like that. So here I am. But all of that being said, I'm recording tonight. Shantae is at band practice, which is so funny. And I'm home with Moose, who is now depressed that Shantae is gone, and Rupert, who is taking over her desk. But just decided to record now because the topic came to mind after walking with Shantae today, and just wanted to get it out there after having just a talk about this on our walk. But before we jump into all of that stuff, personal business updates, personal stuff, I'm getting allergy testing done this week. I say allergy testing. What I'm doing is blood work. I actually don't know. I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is. I'm going to get blood work done. I bought a thing from Quest Diagnostics online, and I'm going to see what is or do I have any allergy or sensitivity to all of the typical allergens they test for? because, or it's, I want to do it. One, because I've always sat here and been like, I wonder if I have a sensitivity to that. Now, obviously it's not testing for like dust, pollen, dog, cat. I'm not doing the respiratory allergy yet. I say that because I'll do it eventually, but I'm going to do it for just food allergies, because I have been working with Betsy Foster of Foster Strength for, it's exactly 15 weeks now, or this will be the 15th week. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm drinking a lot of protein. I'm eating a lot of protein or drinking a lot of protein shakes. And the reason why is because I actually, physically, I don't like to just like stuff my body full of food, but I need the protein. And I hated protein powders, genuinely could never take them, for the longest time. Shantae introduced me to True Nutrition, and their protein powders are fantastic. You can build your own. So like worst case scenario, if I need to go on something like a plant-based protein, I can. It's super unfortunate and annoying. They have plant-based options. So I'm not like, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just noticing my skin is reacting to it. I think, I have been taking, double the dose every single day. So if a serving size is 25 grams of protein and it's 1 scoop, I've been doing 2 scoops with a little bit of orange juice and water, every day for the past 14 weeks. So, I mean, if you think about that, like that's a lot of dairy, cause it's not lactose free. And, it's also whey. So I might have a whey allergy. I don't know. Either way, like my body's fine. It's just, I notice it in my skin, and my skin has always been what's reactive. So going to try to figure that part out, not because I'm like, oh, I have to cut out dairy or I have to be, cognizant of how much I'm intaking. It's fine. I'll deal with it. But mostly because, I would like to know if that's the problem, because if that's the problem, then I can solve it. Because if you've been familiar with my backstory, like my skin has been, big lifestyle changes, got divorced, moved across the country, stress level went from like 1 million to basically 2, and, big, huge changes in my life, and my skin just overall basically did like a literal 180. And so because I've had such great skin health for, a year and a half, I am a little frustrated that like I'm noticing just small breakouts that typically before would be like small and not hard to deal with at all, but now feel really frustrating just because it's like, what the fuck? I don't want that again. And the only thing new that's consistent is definitely the protein. And also I will say I have had an increase in take in, I would say just like sugar, just because sugar, and also like, I guess we can talk about the bread too. Like I'm cooking sourdough, is that it's so good on my belly, which I don't really have issues with anymore anyway, but, I don't know if that's affecting my skin, but my first priority is going to be the dairy. So I'll let you know how that goes. I hate getting my blood drawn. I was going to add like a general blood test in there as well, like a blood type test, because I also have no idea what blood type I am. I know that sounds so stupid, and it honestly like doesn't like make sense, because how do you not know when you are, over 30? What blood type you are. I know my mom tells me that I'm either O positive or O negative. So either way, I have been terrified of blood draws since the Red Cross days at my high school, because everyone would go get their blood drawn, and like throughout the day you would just see people passing out in the hallway. And I was like, that's not for me. So I've never donated blood, just because it's absolutely terrifying to me. Which I recognize this is all like ridiculous, and people who are big blood donors are going to be like, you are a big baby, and I got it. But also I just don't like needles. So I will likely ask them at Quest to use the butterfly needle. I'm that big of a baby, which is the child's needle. So we'll see. Anyway, that's like the small thing. I'm looking at my, my list. I also, personal stuff, personal and business, because I was doing the voice lessons for my voice for teaching and also for the podcast. And I have decided that I need to do something in person. So virtual is not working for me, or it didn't work for me. It's fine. Like I think that there are, different strokes for different folks, as Shantae would say, and it's just not working for me. So I got to find something in person. So I'll probably try to find that. in the next couple of months. Right now, I did end up buying a Kindle after talking about it in my newsletter last week. And I've been reading, I've been doing a lot of different stuff. And right now I'm actually having, and we'll talk about like in this episode, my values, what have you, but I've been having a lot of like, I could do this and this and this and this, and this is something that needs to be changed and I'm like, I just want to not do that. I need to chill and do one thing at a time. So I am currently working on like a schedule of how to finish certain things in a certain time period and hoping that I, for lack of better terms, will be able to do everything that I want to do that I have on my list as far as like business related stuff, because right now it's just about like, I know what I want to do, but it's about the execution of the things. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, we played a lot of volleyball today. We played 6 games. So we played 6 games to 21, which is actually a lot. We were about, I don't know, it was 3.5 hours of volleyball. So that was fun. Body is definitely sore. I'll probably go downstairs and do the Normatec boots at some point tonight, just because my legs are so tired. And I'll have to decide if I'm going to do my Monday programming tomorrow or Tuesday. Hi, Betsy. Because I don't know, my legs might be too tired for the Monday workout. The Monday workout is very leg heavy, and I would rather not be dead from volleyball when I'm doing that workout. Work stuff. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of work stuff today, but I will just tell you that, you know, work is great. Like business is really great. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by so many incredible people and people who are looking to get help and utilize my services and I just genuinely and share my mission and my services with other people. I just see so many Facebook group comments from folks, and no one, absolutely no one prepares you for the level of just like warm fuzzies that you get and like deep, sincere appreciation when someone shares your name in a Facebook group. And like, I know that it sounds like really cheesy to say, but it is just so appreciated. And I cannot explain the level of just gratitude that I have for everyone who shares my services, my profile, my posts, everything. Just thank you so much. So I guess with that being said, I'm just thinking like, do I want to jump in? Do I have any other things I want to check off the list? I don't think so. I think we're good. I think I can jump in. So here's the thing. And this, I'm like taking a deep breath because I've never really wanted to like dive too far into this. And I'm going to keep it what you need to know and hopefully not ramble too much here. The messaging today and like why I wanted to share what I'm going to share is because when you have a business, right? So if you're listening to this, you likely have a business. And when you have a business, you get to decide, and it's basically you and only you get to decide how you run your business. So you get to decide if you want to do calls on Monday, if you want to do calls on Tuesday, if you want to do calls every day of the week, if you want to work on a Sunday night, if you want to do X, Y, and Z on a Friday, you get to decide how you do things. Now, deciding how you do things and deciding why you do things the way you do them is going to come down to a couple of things. One, your values, right? So what are your values? Two, what is your enough? So like, how much money do you need? Period. And like, what does that mean for you? And then it also comes down to, what do you want to do and what do you not want to do, right? So we've got values, we've got what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and then your enough. Now, when we think about that and we put all those things together, we can then decide what our days look like, how many clients we take on, all of that stuff. And with that information, you then run your business off of that. And that's how you're getting clients. That's how you decide whether or not you take on a client. That's how you decide how much money do you need to charge? Because if your value is, let's just say small group programs. That's like you want to have a small group where they get individualized attention within the group, and maybe you value results, right? You want to make sure they get results. Well, for that small group program, if you need to make $1,000 a month, then you have to charge a certain number in order to make it a small group, but also still make the income goal that you have. Anyway, with that, right? So our preferences also obviously go into this, because like if you don't want to work on a Monday and a Friday, that also makes a difference. Where am I going with this? I promise I'll land the plane. Again, like I said, I'm shooting from the hip here. I'm not reading a damn template. So when it comes to how you run your business, you get to decide based on all of these things, right? And that's what makes you the business owner. And that's likely why you went into business for yourself, because you decided like, that is what I want. That's how I want to live my life, that I don't want to be under the thumb of someone else. And that's A-okay. Like I get it 110%. So when it comes down to it, what I want to talk about today is choosing, essentially, if you will, you're choosing values over volume. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people that I talk to can relate to. What I mean by that, and I will talk in terms of my business only, and then if it fits you, cool. If it doesn't, cool. But when it comes down to my business, one of the things that I often get met with, or that I struggle with internally, if you will, or I have had to put a lot of thought into and work around, is that I cannot be available all of the time for everyone. And what I mean by that is, when I first started my business, I was taking calls Monday through Friday, and I was taking calls at all hours of the day. I would tell you, I have taken discovery calls at 7 a.m. I have taken discovery calls at 8 p.m. I have started education group calls at 8 p.m. Eastern. Like I have taken all of the things. I have had calls, Monday morning and Friday night. Like I did all of that stuff when I first started my business, because that's where I was at. And that's what I felt like I had to do in that moment in order to make it work. And I have no regrets. I was also working around multiple different jobs. Like I would be at my full-time job from 8 to 2 or 8 to 3. And then I'd be working my online business in the afternoon. So I went through those stages and did what I had to do during that time, right? Because I had to have enough. Like I had to make sure I made enough money. I had to make sure that I was also devoting my energy to not only another business that I owned, but also my full-time job and the people that I was treating there and the kids that I was treating there. So anyway, when it comes down to it, at this point in my career, at this point in my business, I feel like one of the things that I have to actively remind myself is that I am doing and I am creating my business around my values, which then leads me to have less volume. And I'm okay with that. So when it comes down to it, I will say no to a client, or my discovery calls are currently booking out into the end of March and the beginning of April, because I don't have the capacity for new people. Right? Like that. And that just is what it is. Like, could I open up more time on my schedule? Yes. Could I work all day Monday and Friday like I currently don't? Yes, I could. Could I take discovery calls later on in the day and not be done at 4:30? Yes, I could. But my values at this point in my life are very different from where I was when I first started my business. They have changed, they have evolved. And a big value of mine right now, honestly, is my personal life and making sure that I am devoting and intentionally putting effort into having time outside of work. And not only that, but inside my business, a big intention, or my intention, is to make sure that I am devoting all of my energy to my current clients. And so when it comes down to it, I have this bone in me, if you will, where people will oftentimes say, and like I've heard this, and I know that, and there is no one that's like in my immediate circle that says this, but anybody who looked at my business from the outside that was not likely Shantae or, somebody who knows me very well, they would say, you need to hire. they would say, you need to raise your prices. For me, I am so rooted in my values that I don't want to do that. I do not want to hire for the sake of making more money. I don't want to hire because I want more people in the door. I don't want to raise my prices simply because I have a wait list. Did I raise my prices this year? Yes, I did, because it's the first year I've done so since 2022. And because I just want less one-on-one calls. Like, I know that less people will book those one-on-one calls because they are more expensive, if you will. It's a higher investment. But I know that when those people book those calls, they are in. Like, they are ready to go. They want the solution. Like, here, let's get some stuff done. So when it comes down to it, for me, I am choosing to have less people, less clients. I'm choosing to work less hours. And I'm still, my enough is being met. Like, I still am able to, contribute financially to our bills and, make sure that I am able to pay my side of everything as far as groceries. And I also have money for being able to play volleyball. But at the end of the day, I am not taking on more than my plate would allow. As Molly Galbraith actually has, I'm probably not going to say it correctly, but she has this post that she does every once in a while, and people will be like, do you have the time? And they can say no or what have you. And the person was just like, my plate is as full as I like. And like, that's how I feel every single day. And when I'm talking about that feeling that I think about in my body that I have to fight sometimes, it's just like, I want to help everyone. I just have this like inherent, I have this, I would love to be able to help everyone at any given time when they ask. And what I've learned from trying to do that and putting everyone else before myself and the values that I had was that I got really burnt out. And it wasn't a burnt out that I'm like, oh, I hate what I'm doing, or, oh, I can't do this anymore. The burnt outness for me was more or less like I was spending a lot of time doing things in my business, like working for the people that I was working for, taking coaching calls, doing discovery calls, and just never having time to actually sit down and do what I call like shut off. I don't recall who said it. I don't recall what book it's from. There is some specific book, and I do not remember at this time. Basically what they say is that in order to be able to create, you have to give yourself spaces of nothing. And like, you have to be bored, quote unquote. And bored, quote unquote, looks different for certain people. Like for me, my best ideas come to me when I'm driving or I'm in the shower. But there was a period in my life where my showers were so fast because I felt like I was wasting my time when I was showering. Like, what the hell? Absolutely not. So it's one of those things, and you might be in that season of life right now. And like that, I get it. And also I know I don't have kids. I know that I have the luxury of not having children. I know. And I'm not saying anyone has to live the way that I do, or that is not a privilege that I have to be able to have control over my time almost always, unless Moose or Rupert is throwing up and we have to attend to it immediately. It's just like, I get it. I know. But all of that stuff goes into how you want to run your business. I have a client who has multiple children, and she has her own business that has multiple locations. She coaches for another company, and she's always like, I'm working and I'm working late. And I asked her, like, well, do you love it? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, great. Like, you love it. That's all that matters, right? Like, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Do you love what you're doing? Are you happy when you're doing it? And do you love the setup that you have? If you do, then no one can tell you like, oh, you work too much, or, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, or, that doesn't sound like good to me, or, you should hire. Like, I genuinely just feel like we should all take a step back and make sure we understand, what are our values? What do we want things to look like? What is our enough? And are you there? And if you're there, like, give yourself the permission to run your business in a way that suits you. If you're not there, then you can always take a step back and change things in order to fit where you're at and like fit your values. I think we go into business, and I'm an example of that. Like, we go into business and we are our own boss, and it can be really tough to figure out in the beginning. But once you're able to really outline your values and you're enough and you understand how you want things to look and feel like, you can make choices from there and decisions and changes, right? So you can make changes from there. And, this whole episode is called, I'm like over here, forgetting the episode title. It is called Values Over Volume, because at any given time for me, like one of my other values is competency and doing things right. And at any time I could just hire someone on or contract out my work, right? And for my clients and just say, yeah, like I'll take you on as a client, but then that person has no idea that I'm outsourcing their work to someone else. Suddenly, I'm not saying the quality of work would go down, but it's not me doing it. And for me, my value is quality, and my value is for me to be doing the work. And I like it. Like I love doing the work. So for anyone to say, well, oh, Lex, you have a wait list. Oh, Lex, you're booking discovery calls into multiple months from now, to say like you need to hire, for me, it would be more stressful and it would be less advantageous for my business right now. I'm not saying I'll never hire, but like right now it's just me. No one else does anything else inside my business. And for someone to say like, oh, you should hire just based on the stats of like wait list versus if they look at income, whatever they look at, and you're like, oh, you should hire because you can get more people in, you have a wait list, yada, yada. For me, I'd be like, I don't want to, period. I have considered this and I'm like, this doesn't make sense for my values and like how I want to operate my business. And that's also a-okay. Like there can be a lot of pressure to grow. And it's like, but does that growth feel good for you? Or does it feel more stressful? And is it contributing to your life in a positive way? If it is, amazing. If it's not, then maybe it's time we take a step back and we change things. And you honestly can't change things and make changes, or you even think about making changes if a couple of things aren't true. One, if you don't know your values. Two, if you don't know you're enough, right? And then three, if you don't know how you want things to look and feel like. And sometimes that takes a no and being like, oh God, I really hate this, before you know what you want. And that's okay. So the whole message here is that I do think that there are people who might need to hear that you can choose and run your business, as Shantae would say, however the fuck you want. Like you can do that however you want. But at the end of the day, in life and in your business, because we can't forget, like your life is also important here. In your life and in your business, you have to know what your values are and what you stand for and what you don't stand for. And if you don't know what you stand for, look at what you don't stand for first. You probably stand for the opposite of that. And the other thing too is like you have to consider, what do your financials look like? What are your goals? What do you want to have money for? What do you feel like you need to make to have that, concrete, like I can make my rent, I can pay for groceries, check. But also like, what does my recreational life look like? Do I want to have money to go to Disneyland? Maybe. So what does all that stuff look like? Because once you know those things, it takes a lot of pressure off feeling like, what am I going to do? Am I making enough money? Do I need to have a new offer? Do I need to take on more clients? Do I need to raise my prices? Oh, I can fit in a call. I can fit in a patient here. And it becomes a situation where even though you have the most control inside your own business, you literally feel helpless and you feel like you're out of control and that you're making decisions on a whim and, with no strategy or logistics behind it. When you have the control, you're in the driver's seat always. You get to decide. And without knowing your values and you're enough, you just can't. I personally feel like you cannot do that. And at one point or another, we're all forced to really sit down and say, what are my values? What do I want? And when that happens, it gives you a space to say, all right, this is how I want things to look. I want to make sure that I'm taking a shower for as long as I feel like. I don't want to feel like I'm procrastinating as I'm taking a shower. I want to make sure I have alone time in the car or alone time in my office so that I can, quote unquote, get bored. I'm not working. I'm just hanging out in my rocking chair, because when I'm doing that, I know that my best ideas come from that place. And when I don't give myself that space, I find myself in a rut. The muse, as Rachel Strickland would call it, never comes. and I am literally feeling like I'm spinning my wheels. And that's never a fun place to be, whether as a human or a business owner. So let's wrap this up. It's been quite a long episode, and I didn't intend for it to be long, but here we are. I would love, if you have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you can Google this. Just Google a set of values and choose what your values are. You can say give me a list of all potential values, and then take the values that it gives you and decide what values are ones that are yours. And I also am just going to say I am not the values and enough queen. I talk about Laura Jean on this podcast multiple times. I talk about Laura Jean in my podcast. I would love for you to go listen to her podcast. She has tons of episodes on values and enough and knowing what that is. And if you're looking for people who are coaching and business coaching and talking about this stuff, Shantae obviously is one of the ones. I would not be the business owner I am if I hadn't learned from her. Another person I would recommend for sure is Alexis Hutchinson. She's a pelvic PT. I believe she does coaching for business owners for ortho and pelvic because she does do both. So she also is talking about this stuff as far as business coaching goes. If Chad Burnham is not on your radar, you can check him out. He also talks a lot about, he does one-on-one business coaching, which for me, I'm like, yes, one-on-one, amazing. It's my value. I love one-on-one. So if you're looking for that, he's also an option, just like Alexis is. And then the other one that I would pitch here too is Ann Duke. So Ann Duke, PT for Women on Instagram, she also does consulting and coaching. And all of these people I know are very rooted in their values. And when you are rooted in your values, you're able to then help other people who may be struggling to be rooted in theirs, or it might be, time to figure them out in general, and also to have support throughout that. Because to have a partner, not only live with me, but also being around Shantae for the last 6 years, to have someone who says, what are your values? And do you have to do that? Do you need to do that? What feels good? What do you want? And just giving permission to not have to feel like you need to choose, for lack of better terms, when we're looking at values over Jeepers Creepers volume, you don't have to choose the volume. If it doesn't feel good for you, you don't have to. Some people want the volume. I feel no type of way about that. Congrats. I love that for you. For me, it sounds atrocious. And I just feel like I would be tired all of the time, which is not a value of mine. So anyway, like I said, going to wrap this up. Let me know what you think. If your thoughts are, if you feel like you know your values, amazing. If you feel like you're going to go check out Laura Jean, amazing. If you are looking for any other values resources, she is the person to talk to. Dietitian Values on Instagram. She may be changing that. So if you look up Laura Jean, or if you go to people that I follow, you can check out Laura Jean from there. But that would be where I would go to learn more about that. Okay. That's all I've got for you. I know it was a lot. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this. And I'm happy I talked about it, because I know that, I know that I'm not the only one. I know that other people feel this way, and I know that other people are looking for a very sustainable business that feels good for them. So if that's you, yes, find a coach if you need one who fits your style. Obviously, online business, Shantae is the one, and go from there. Okay, friends, I'm going to go. Moose is still looking so depressed because Shantae is not here. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.